Considering what you spent on that for a hobby or enjoyment. I have to say money like that.
John,
Ready? At this time, I'm going to call the May 17th Board of Commissioners meeting to order. We will start out with a prayer from Commissioner Heberling and the pledge by Commissioner Sarkella.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for this beautiful day. We thank you for the beautiful days we've had this week. We pray for our farmers as they plant their crops, Lord, that you give them a good season. We thank you for the freedoms of our country. We thank you, Lord, that we can have the freedom to meet together as elected officials of our community and make decisions for our county. We give you the honor and the glory. In Jesus' name, amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, gentlemen. Moving on to roll call. Leslie,
District 1 Chairman John Block,
present.
District 2 Commissioner Gary Heberlin,
Here.
District 3 Commissioner Bill Sarkella,
Here.
District 4 Commissioner Roger Ballard,
Present.
District 5 Commissioner Joel Wyatt.
Here. Thank you. Moving on to additions, corrections, or deletions to the agenda. We have a salmon colored addition here, resolution in support of the Human Development Commission in-home service. We will add that below the resolution for fiscal year 2023 Community Corrections Grant. There's also a white sheet of paper, 5D, related to consulting services, and we will add that below NFA 022-22.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda with the two additions.
Support. We have a motion from Commissioner Heberling, support from Commissioner Ballard. Is there discussion on the topic? Hearing none, all in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Moving on to our meeting minutes from the May 3rd meeting. Entertain a motion to approve if there are no corrections.
So moved.
Support. We have a motion from Commissioner Ballard, support from Commissioner Sarkella. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Correspondence, petitions, and introductions. You would have received your correspondence from Jody yesterday. We'll move on to commissioner reports, and we will start with Commissioner Wyatt.
I'll pass and say when the personnel committee report comes up.
Let's see, I attended Flynn Township meeting last Tuesday. I believe it was Tuesday, yeah. And also Marlette Township's meeting. Parks, we're still looking for seasonal help. Go to Evergreen Park, 2 positions. If anybody knows of anybody, 16 years and older, send them to SanLaCounty.net and they can find the employment opportunities on that website. And I attended a CMH program committee meeting on May 10th, and they continue work on utilizing the space of the Stoliker building and incorporating that into the rest of their programs. And that's it.
Thank you, Roger. I myself last Monday met with our new consultant for the medical care facility, Ruth McAlpine. I met with her for a half hour here at the courthouse. I went over to the medical care facility with her and got her started. I received an update from her today. She was able to find a multitude of items that we may be able to reduce costs within the facility. The update I got wasn't extensive, wouldn't expect it to be after only a week, but things are moving in a positive direction. So that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. I met, like Roger, I met with 2 of our township last week as scheduled, Washington and Bridgehampton. And then yesterday I received a call from Commissioner Block and John from our landfill out here on Ruth Road called. And I want to bring that up to all the commissioners today. I think I've talked to most of you about it already. They put in for approval to build another cell. And right away I asked John, I said, so you're building cells out there at the landfill? Cells to lock us up. Well, he says, no, a cell, meaning they're expanding the landfill. They had approval from the state. They have all the paperwork. Everything was in motion. But because of the cold spring, because of all the rain, they've had to stop and start many times. And so they asked for an extension from the state give it to them. However, in a contract or in some kind of approval between Sanilac County commissioners and the landfill back 20, 30 years ago, there was an agreement signed that they could only work on removing ground and doing different things with the landscape out there from 8 AM till 6 o'clock at night. So the question that John had for us, and I didn't see a problem with it. I serve on the landfill committee, but I wanted to run it by everyone here over the next 4 to 6 weeks. In order to get that completed and get that new cell built, they are asking or requesting that they're allowed to work till 8 o'clock at night and then work on Saturdays and Sundays if needed. So I called Bridgehampton Township Supervisor Leo Snook. He does not have a problem with it. He really has no bearing over it, but out of courtesy, I wanted him to be aware of it. So he has no problem with them at all working. And quite frankly, I think we've all drove by there any time of the day or maybe 5 o'clock at night or so. We're out there working. I've never thought a thing of it. So Mike Miller used to live on the north side of the landfill. He's moved out. There's another couple. And Leo said that, if there was a problem, I'm sure they would let him know. But, so what John wants us to do, he'd like me to write a letter on behalf of the Board of Commissioners, giving them approval to extend over the next 6, 7, 8 weeks and work from 8 o'clock in the morning till 8 o'clock at night and possibly Saturdays and Sundays. So I'm bringing that request from the landfill manager.
When was this sold?
Pardon me?
When was it sold?
The landfill? Well, landfill was never sold.
Oh, okay, so it's still being operated?
Yeah, no, they every so many years, they add another cell to
Okay,
bring more garbage in.
okay. I
So
understand.
it was
Thank
time just to initiate another cell, so.
Just a new cell. Okay.
And with the weather, the way it's been this spring, they're way behind schedule. So they want 2 more work hours during the week.
Called a cell, huh?
Yeah. Well, I would have called an extension, but they called a cell. That's probably the proper name for it. So anyway, I'm bringing that request on behalf of the landfill to you commissioners, and if you agree to give them the approval to do that, I'll get a letter wrote up with Jody and we'll get it sent out to them.
I don't have a problem with it.
Okay,
Good.
yeah, thank you.
End of my report.
Okay, thank you, Gary. Bill?
I've been able to update, send BOC information to Port Sanilac Township, Croswell, and Lexington Township, and then the Village of Lexington will be next week. That's all I have for the commissioner report.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Administrator report. We won't put Nathan in the hot seat quite yet.
I think Jody might have something to say.
He's didn't close the window
Yeah,
up.
nothing. Okay, never mind.
In case you needed to jump. Won't be far.
So I've been trying to cover these duties to some degree, working with Jody and making sure that things are signed and taken care of. One thing I will put out there as part of an administrator report is open enrollment will start May 26th, and Jody will be sending out notices for that on this week, Thursday, the 19th. And that is it for an administrator report. So now we'll move on to public comments pertaining to today's agenda. Are there any public comments pertaining to today's agenda? Hearing none, we'll move on. We have an update from our Emergency Management Director, Todd Hillman. Todd, you have the floor.
Thanks, everybody. I'm not really sure where you want to start with this, but I guess we can start out with the big horse that's on the court is the Stone Garden funding, which I'm not sure if it's here yet or not. I talked to them a week or so ago and they said it's coming soon. So I'm not sure what that means. I don't know. I don't know. And you guys have heard it yet, but I haven't. So it's moving forward, and the funding for up through March of this year will be signed and out of here tomorrow. So we'll be totally up to snuff and just waiting for that to come through. So as far as what I've been doing, Department of One, since then, we just received our 2021 Stone Garden Award funding for almost $83,000. That'll be coming. I'm working on the ops order for 2022, which that has to be filed by May 30th, which it'll be in well before that. I just all got it completed. It'll be about the same amount of money. You notice that the dates are off. The 21 money goes from September of 21 through July of 24. The 22 money will go September 22 through July of 25. So it's like a 2.5 year window to spend that money, and that money's for like wages. For people to be out there doing their patrols during that time. Been working on upgrading the EAG, the Emergency Action Guideline for the county. That's the county plan, which we kind of keep under wraps. But with the pandemic and everything, there's some tweaking that needs to be going along with that and some signature updates and stuff. So I've been working on that. There's 14 annexes in that, 14 different groups that have to play to make all that come together. Also been working with some of the outlining first responders doing some setting up exercises. One an entrapment, a hazmat, and then some type of motor vehicle accident in the summer. So that's kind of the day-to-day stuff along with everything else that's going on. I just kind of wanted to recap a little bit the last few years here, kind of what's going on. It's really changed. This all started out in the fall of 19, when you guys remember the water started to rise. So we had everybody along the lakeshore looking for FEMA money to fix their shorelines so they could put up seawalls and whatever else. And I'm not sure how familiar you guys are with that, but FEMA money to the private individuals don't happen very often. Okay, it's all for private, or excuse me, public places, you know, like courthouses, government properties, things like that. So that was quite a thing. And in January of 20, we went into the wonderful Great Ooze. Some of you remember that. I know Commissioner Block does. That was up in his territory. And then the great COVID thing. And I call it a thing because that's, as far as I'm concerned, that's what it was. We struggled a lot with that. It was a long haul. It was about 14 months that we had the EOC open. I don't think I had to open EOC open a week prior to that in 19 years I've been here. Okay, so it was quite a struggle. I went through and just kind of calculated a little bit, some calls. Just the EOC group alone that Commissioner Wyatt was part of and some others, we had over 300 conference calls during that time. Just that group. That's not counting the hospitals. That's not counting the EMS people, the law enforcement, and everybody else. So it was kind of a struggle, and we finally closed that up. And hopefully, it's somewhat behind us. Okay. I know there was a lot of issues there. My job as emergency management, when it comes to the EOC, is to manage the people that's in there, to keep them going the right direction. That was probably the biggest challenge that we had. Okay. Keeping everybody in their lane, doing what they're supposed to be doing, and trying to solve the problem. Okay. And I got one guy looking at me and smiling. It wasn't just him. There was several others. Okay. There was several others that went on behind the scenes and we just never talked about it out in the open as much as we did some. But that was probably the biggest challenge. And it was quite a road. It really was. It kicked a lot of our butts in the long term. So that was the COVID. We hope that's over. I have always told all the people that always ask me what I thought of it. Someday I'll sit underneath the tree with a cooler next to me. Come and sit down next to me. I'll tell you how I really feel. We're not there yet. I can't do that yet, but the day's coming. Okay. Other than that, just some quick things. Homeland Security funds that I've been able to secure for a while. It's over $400,000. I wanted to run this number today. I did this morning. Stone Garden funds so far, we've been able to collect $675,000. That's pretty amazing. Okay. So unless there's questions for me, I guess I really wasn't sure where to go with this today. And I'll answer anything you got.
Well, you did well, Todd. Thank you for the update. Regarding a couple of the numbers that you gave, the 83,000 that has been received, or we should be getting receipt of it within.
We'll be getting the paperwork to accept that.
What years was that for?
That'll be for work that's performed from September of 21 through July of 24.
21 through 24. Are we behind in the 2018, 19, 20 year?
What do you mean got behind? That's what's submitted. That's what we're waiting for.
Do we have any outstanding payments that we're waiting from the previous years prior to 20?
The only thing we're outstanding is what we've been waiting for, which we've been talking about.
21 through 24.
No, 18, 19, 20.
Yeah,
years.
So that is the one I was referencing, the 18, 19, 20.
Right.
That payment is.
That's the one sitting out there. We're waiting to get. That's at $200,000 and some thousand.
And what's the movement on that one? That's the one that you said that you're waiting for them?
Like I said, everything's into them. The last I talked to them said it won't be long. That's the answer I'm getting. And it was quite a bundle that we gave them. I'll admit it was.
What do you mean?
What?
What do you mean by it was quite a bundle?
It was quite a
Like
large.
for 3 years, you mean?
Yeah, it was quite a large package that we gave to them, of which they got to go through it all and review it all.
Well, I don't know if the full board understands this though, but remember that money had been spent out of our contingency fund. So it's a very important matter to get reimbursed on that because that money's already gone to the sheriff's office and gone to the individuals that perform that service and been spent probably at our local, car dealerships or grocery stores and gas stations and who knows what. So it is an important matter
Oh, absolutely.
to get that back.
Absolutely.
So we're still waiting on that. The 675 has been since the Stone Garden program has been
Yep,
in place.
When did that initiate?
2010.
Okay, thank you.
Todd, back in February, you and I attended that high level water meeting in FEMA where the government's trying to generate more FEMA money and there was supposed to be a subsequent meeting to that. Have you heard any more about that?
Never heard of it. No. You and I went up there and that was the last I heard of it.
I sat in on the webinar,
Oh, yeah, you were on that.
Yeah. watched you guys eat.
But that was a different deal, up in Huron County, they've got a totally different situation than what we got. If FEMA raises the floodplain to 13 feet here in county, it's a big deal. They raise it 13 feet here, it's not such a big deal because most of our shoreline is cliffed. And if the water comes over that, we got some serious problems.
We're in trouble,
Yeah, there was only a couple little areas up in the Forestville area that were actually affected by that. I think it's like 6 parcels of property.
But it was pretty clear why they wanted to raise it from here in county, right?
Well, you answered that, not me.
Is there any work left to be done for the reimbursement on any of these years that we've already spent out of contingency? Is there anything left? Okay.
No.
So everything that we got to
Like
do,
I
we
said, I got January, February, March, which we'll have tomorrow. I'll be able to have it signed. So.
okay, thank you.
Todd, you had mentioned that these EOC calls over the last 14 months maybe were contentious to some degree, or maybe you had some characters that were more bold than others.
Just you get groups of people together. Everybody has their own opinions.
What do you envision as a solution to a problem like that? Because for me, when we deal with things like here at the board table, if we had a board member that was, getting out of line, it would be my impression that the board chair would be the one that would have to step up and say something. So in these EOC calls, are you that individual?
Yeah. Try to talk to both sides. Try to get it solved, try to settle people down. We've got a mission there to take care of. And through that situation, we were walking into something that was totally unknown. We didn't know what was right. We didn't know what was wrong. We were making calls and just, you gotta do what you gotta do. At first, it wasn't too bad, and then it slowly started to escalate. It told me to get in their own line a few times, but for the most part, it worked out well. I'm happy, we probably had one of the best groups in the state that worked together. I've had that told me by many other EMs around the state. What's happening with ours was good. So
Good.
Well, since I was part of it and you alluded to
I'm trying to
that,
be nice.
right? Having attended almost 300 of those virtual on the phone meetings, what a pain in the rear and how ineffective they are compared to people sitting down here and carrying out the business of the county face to face with the ability to be able to have a conversation that we can read your feedback and allay all those miscommunications that come out of not being able to see how people are talking. Imagine had we been able to meet on occasion, how much different that would have played out.
I totally agree.
Your job was manifestly more difficult because it was only conducted over the phone.
Yep. And I'll be right, guys. Now, I've told a couple of you already, that whole thing, it kicked my butt. There's no doubt about it. It was a 24-hour, 7-day a week for 14 months. It wasn't just the OC meetings. There was people from here, the department heads calling, who knows when, and everybody else, what do we do about this? What do we do about that? And making all those connections. Oh, gee, somebody thinks they've got it. We got to get them tested. Oh, gee, we got to get them rapid tested. I mean, there was a lot of pieces that was constantly going on that nobody realized. Didn't get that opportunity to be told to go home and sit in my house and enjoy the weather while all this is going on. It was crazy. It really was.
You did a good job, Todd. And John, you asked the question, things could be different. Hindsight's 20/20, right?
Oh, yeah.
Probably some of the emails that got out probably shouldn't have got out, right?
Hey, we all make mistakes.
Can't stop
You
everything.
don't screw up. You don't know.
Thanks for the information.
Todd, I do want to, I'll bring it up right here. We have an emergency plan. I think we started on, kind of got it done for the parks.
Yeah.
And I want to get that back and we've had personnel changes and whatnot.
Yeah.
So, and Todd and I had a lot of conversations during COVID too, and myself and Bryant, trying to get our parks open. And I was in the county for a month when it didn't open on time, but we did what we had to do and it worked out.
No, nobody, none of us like the decisions we had to make, really. And I shouldn't say had to make, we felt we needed to make. That's right.
Any other questions for Todd? Hearing none.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here, Todd.
Thanks.
At this time, we're going to move on to our Airport Zoning Board of Appeals Board interviews. We'll start with Glenn Phillips. Welcome, Glenn.
Yes, good afternoon. Phillips, Marlette Township. I'm zoning administrator, trustee, been on the planning commission since '93. And I attended the tall structures.
That was
back when the
eventful, yeah.
State released that, and I think we even did a citizens plan or several meetings.
Yeah, that went on for the whole winter, right?
It did seem like it took, yeah. So, and I guess I'm a farmer and just do a little bit of everything. So, what do you guys need to know? I originally submitted back when they were looking for doing the tall structures board. I submitted an application. I was interested in it. And I came across, I was texted by an individual that said there's an opening and it appealed to me. I'm not sure it's going to take up a lot of my time. I'm kind of busy, but I'm interested in, very interested in the position. And I feel I'd be qualified for it. I work with Marlette has a nice airport. And I work with the airport as one of my responsibilities that we deal with on a regular weekly basis, and, amongst other things. So,
Glenn, to answer your question, I'll speak for probably all of us because we've all said it at one time or another. When you get into a committee like this, we don't know everything you're going to be into. We just appreciate people like you. And I told Mr. Scribner today, so what do I say? We like to know where you come from and what you've done, and appreciate you stepping up and volunteering in our community. I think I can speak for everybody on that. So.
yeah, and it's no desire to have me serve on it. Try to do my best, but on the other hand, if there's somebody else that's really interested in it. I don't know how many people you had apply for it. I'll just leave it at that. I would recommend that you look hard at them, very hard.
Any further questions for Glenn? Thank you for being here, Glenn.
Thanks, Glenn.
Up next would be Steve Scribner. Welcome, Steve.
Hello there, nice to meet you guys. I'm Steve Scribner. I've lived in Sandusky all my life, and I'm not the best public speaker in the world, but my daughters are real interested in flying and stuff, and I work for Wheat Crop Farm a little bit on the side, and I owned a few businesses in town. We pushed snow actually here, for instance, for 10 years. And my kids are just interested in flying, and they said there was a position, and I just thought I'd help out if I can in any way. And there's probably a million other people too that want it. If I'm in the same boat as them, I'm just here to help out if I can. So other than that, that's about all I can answer for you guys. So,
Okay.
All right, thanks, guys.
Yep.
Thanks, Steve.
Our last interviewee is Nathan Soul. Is Nathan here? Does not look like it. Okay, We will move on to appointments to standing committees. We have one under the Council on Aging, a partial 3-year term expiring 12/31/24. It appears as though there is one person, Dory Besmack, to be appointed. And I believe this is your appointment to
Yeah,
make.
my appointment, she's from our district, and I'll tell you a little bit about Dory. Dory owned the business over here. I don't want to call it the old people's home. It was for, what was it called? Yeah, Touch of Gold.
AFC home.
AFC home. She's got a lot of experience. I reached out to Dory. I know her very well, actually, and she was excited about serving on it, and she wanted to know how many hours a month it took and how many meetings, and so once I got that cleared, she was happy to serve on it, so bringing her name, she'll be a good asset to it.
Good deal. Thank you, Gary. Okay, we will move on to an appointment to the Zoning Board of Appeals. I will entertain a motion to enter the 3 names into the record.
I'll make that motion to enter Glenn Phillips, Stephen Scribner, and Nathan Saul.
Support.
We have a motion from Commissioner Heberlein, support from Commissioner Ballard. Is there discussion on the topic? Hearing none, we'll use our ballots.
All right, 2 for Glenn Phillips and 3 for Stephen Scribner.
Okay, Stephen, congratulations, you're on the board.
One less job, regular.
You say your wife will be happy?
Well, actually, Glenn, I'd like to reach out to you. We have an open vacancy on the Sanilac Transportation Corporation Board, and we would welcome your interest in serving on that. It is a little more frequently than the, I think, the airport ZBA. They meet once a month, but it's a pretty good board to sit on. When you should say, Gary, you've
Yeah,
been on
I
it
served
before.
on it, yeah.
You see their vehicles driving around all the time. So there's actually a lot of interaction and a lot of things that you can bring positive to that board. So anybody else interested in another board, Sanilac Transportation Corporation is looking for a
Sign up right
board.
over there.
How quick do you need? I can talk.
So they start tomorrow.
We're going in Jody Morris tomorrow or today, and she can connect you with that.
You just send me an email. I can forward it on or send it right to her.
So she would have all the.
Yeah.
Glenn and Steve, I want to say one more thing, and I don't want to take up John's meeting. Both you gentlemen are well-liked in the community and well-respected, and either one of you would have done a great job. But again, I want to speak on behalf of our commissioners here. We appreciate so much you guys. You do a lot in the community. I know you do, Glenn, for sure, in your community, and both of you would have been very fitting for that job. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, Glenn's in my district and he puts a lot of time and effort into the township jobs that he holds.
Thank you, Roger.
I want you to know we appreciate that a lot.
No, that's
Yeah,
fine.
yeah.
I gotta say, Glenn, you telling us that, offering the position if somebody else was interested in it, made it very clear that you'd be right up the alley for the Sanilac Transportation.
One more time.
Thank you.
Well, I think so. Could I be excused?
Yeah.
Go back to the track.
Yes, of course.
Thank you for being here.
Thanks.
Thank you, Glenn.
Okay, moving on to county chair appointments. There are none. General resolutions, we have 2. First one being for the community corrections grant application. I'm going to request that Commissioner Wyatt read that.
All right. This will be for the fiscal year 2023 Community Corrections Grant application. Whereas Sanilac County, as a member of the Thumb Area Regional Community Corrections with Lapeer and Tuscola County, recognizes the need to offer felony probationers with specific programming targeted at further advancing offender success rates and reducing repeat offender rates. And whereas the fiscal year 2023 Community Corrections Grant application written on behalf of the Thumb Area Regional Community Corrections will provide a funding source to incorporate such programming and administrative oversight in Sanilac County. Therefore, be it resolved that the Sanilac County Board of Commissioners hereby approves Sanilac County's participation in the Thumb Area Regional Community Corrections Fiscal Year 2023 Community Corrections Grant application for the period of October 1st, 2022 through September 30th, 2023. Be it further resolved that this resolution be spread upon the proceedings of the Sanilac County Board of Commissioners this 17th day of May, 2022.
We have a motion from Commissioner Wyatt. Is there support?
Support.
We have support from Commissioner Heberlein. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution is carried. At this time, we will move on to the resolution of support for the
Roll call.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you.
Commissioner Sarfella,
Yes.
Commissioner Ballard,
Yes.
Commissioner Wyatt.
Yes.
Chairman Block,
Yes.
Commissioner Heberlein.
Yes.
Before you move on, John, the board is represented here if you wanted them to talk to us at all
For the
resolution that we just passed.
one we just passed?
Yes.
Yeah, sure.
Did you want to address us?
Yes, absolutely.
Real quick, that you already approved.
Easiest man I've ever attended. You can speak forever now. No.
Yeah, now you can tell us how you really feel.
Just wanted to come up here, just like Joel was saying, try and do things via Zoom. It's been so difficult. So my assistant, I made a drive up here and I really just wanted to answer questions. If you had any questions, and just give you a little bit of information. I believe the last time I was here in person, which was a very long time ago, you had asked, how do we know if this works? And I came back with, well, that's a good question. And the state is actually asking the same thing. And they want us now to track it, and we are tracking it. So for a region for this year, fiscal year 2020, yes, 2022, we've had one offender in the region, which is Tuscola, Lapeer, and Sanilac, that has reoffended once they've completed programming. So what we're doing now is once they've completed programming, whichever program that may be, Thinking Matters, substance abuse, the opiate mass specific program, or the IOP, the drunk driving program, for a period of 1 year after they complete, we track to see if they have reoffended. It's a big task. We use a source called the Judicial Warehouse. We put the person's name in, and then we look to see if they reoffended, not just in Sanilac County, Lapeer County, but statewide. If they have offended, we note it, and the stats go in to the state and our own stats to track. So that's how we're doing it now.
Is the state going to tie some funding to the results of that?
No.
Of course.
Of course. It's basically another layer of, is this working or not? Quite frankly, I'm not sure how long it's going to go on. It is a huge task to take on. Judicial Warehouse isn't like running somebody in lien, which you can run someone in lien for simple things like that. You'd have to have a reason, be the probation agent. It doesn't spit it out really easily. You put their name in, it comes up with all the John Smiths. It comes up with, there was one, I forget the name, something Diamond. There was 300 and some names that were the same, and you have to look through it. So the bigger counties, Wayne County, Oakland County, I don't know how they're going to keep it up. The state's asked us to do it. We have to do it as part of the grant conditions, contractual conditions. I just don't know how long it's going to last. They were working from home and had a lot of spare time, I think, when they started.
So you have no access to the law enforcement information
No,
network?
formally being law enforcement and lien certified, you can only run somebody in lien if it's very specific reasons. I've come across on a traffic stop, or I'm investigating a crime, probation agents, parole agents can, but Even if I had lien access, I would have to have a specific reason that would.
So these individuals you're dealing with are not necessarily on probation.
They're all on probation.
Why can't you use the probation officer to do it?
They don't have the time either.
Oh, come on. Seriously, they don't have time to look up their own individuals on lien?
Some of them would be discharged at that point and.
Like they're no longer on probation?
Correct.
Well, then that wouldn't be, right, it
12-month
wouldn't be
period.
applicable. Okay.
So, and you gotta remember, I'm not their supervisor or boss telling them what to do. If I could, I would. Trust me, I love it. I could put it off on
Huh.
somebody else.
Okay.
So we'll see how long it lasts. It is a good tool.
Would it impact what you do? Would it benefit you to have that kind of feedback? Change the program any?
We already track. See, the nice thing about community corrections, found the P 511 Act. We're not being told by the state what programs that we need. It's up to the Community Corrections Board and myself to stay updated to what the communities need. For instance, the opiate specific program now has the meth component because people switch from opiates to meth. So it's our job as the Community Corrections Board as well as myself to stay on track with that. Drunk driving, Lapeer County especially, we have a huge drunk driving problem. That's why we have the IOP program that specifically targets offenders that have that problem. So it's a nice tool to have, a nice statistic to see if we're meeting our goals or not. Is it 100% beneficial? I don't know.
Who has boots on the grounds identifying that this program works? Who actually sees
The advisory board, the Community Corrections Advisory Board, myself, my assistant, we're the ones seeing, actually tracking, and the probation agents, because they're the actual referral source. I'm more the banker.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
but so just real quick, for 2023, we asked for $314,000. Last year, we asked for 316, we got 290. I'm assuming we'll be somewhere in that ballpark between 314 and 90. The only thing I want to add, we did, looks like we're going to add Huron County to the region. So it'll be Lapeer, Tuscola, Sand Lake, and Huron County. And again, that helps us because the more numbers we have, the bigger pool of money we have to work with, hopefully.
Yeah, that's a good thing to have them.
It is a good thing. The last thing I'm going to say is the state has relaxed how the money flows within the region. They used to be very cut and dry pieces of pie. This pie goes to Lapeer, this pie goes to Sand Lake. Now, if Sand Lake's using all the money, that's good. We'll just keep giving Sand Lake if they're other counties are underperforming. So the more money we get, it really does help all the counties. Any other questions?
You may not know, what's the national statistic for reoccurring sex offender? Second time, do you have any idea?
No, I can tell you the recidivism rate for the state for all crimes is 19%. I wouldn't hold too much to that because that's current, because the way things are going now. Statewide felony dispositions are down 3,000 statewide. That's not because the crimes didn't happen. That's because the courts weren't open. The jails have 4,000 less, not jails, prisons have 4,000 less inmates from a couple years ago. So doesn't mean there's not crime. It's just that's.
19%?
Yes.
Who here thought it was going to be a lot higher? I know I did. Sheriff Rich, does that seem like what you see? Only 19%?
My understanding,
Wow.
the Michigan Department of Corrections has changed the way they view recidivism. If they're on probation, it no longer counts.
There was a catch there.
So
And they're released earlier, right?
In reality, Commissioner, you're right.
Okay.
So he's absolutely correct. So Michigan, MDOC has their definition of recidivism. Community Corrections has their definition of recidivism, which has changed since I've been with Community Corrections. So it's the whole cliche of, I can't remember how it goes, numbers don't lie, but people figure them do. So it's a game they're playing. I mean, so for instance, for our goal, I said, we're tracking it for 12 months. So I'm telling you that no one in these programs have reoffended for 12 months. 12 months and 2 days from completing the program, if they commit a crime, I'm not tracking.
Right.
So it's a numbers game.
It's a number game with tax dollars. And it sure would be nice to have a better handle on whether it's effective or not.
I can tell you this, the programs prior to them making us track who is reoffended, all the programs we use are evidence-based practice. They do work. That was just another layer that looks good on paper. If it's a good one. None of the programs we have work. You have to qualify for the program, assessment's done for the program, there's a need for it. It's not like we're just saying any old person can go to the program. If they're going to the program, they need it. So that's the difference between probation and parole. Parole's almost, everyone does the exact same thing, where with our programs, if you're not a drunk driver, why am I gonna put you in the IOP program?
When it comes to spending tax dollars, right, statistics are great, particularly if they prove that the tax dollars are working, but anecdotal evidence is nice too. You got any anecdotal evidence, any stories of successful turnarounds beyond 1 year and 2 days?
I'm not gonna give you a particular story. All I can tell you is there has been a few success stories. I've been in there 12 years now. Yeah, so 12 years now. There's been a few people that have turned themselves around. But you have to remember, if they're not ready, it doesn't matter what program you have. The IOP, not the IOP, the opiate specific / meth program at TRICAP. If someone's addicted to meth or opiates, that's their best chance. It's a 150-day program. If they complete it, they actually have an aftercare plan, they adhere to it, they're probably going to be successful. The difference is we send people up there, they literally get out of the van because we come and pick them up, or TRICAP does. They don't even walk in the building. They're not ready. So they go in there and they spend a week and walk out. It's not a locked facility. So there are success stories, but again, if the person's not ready, it doesn't matter what you throw at them. So, any other questions for me?
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate you coming up.
Sneak out and head back to the field.
All right. See you next year.
I'll be back before
All right then, with a good story.
then.
Okay, at this time, we'll move on to the resolution of support for Human Development Commission in-home services. Bill, would you be willing to read this one?
Yes, whereas on May 3rd, 2022, County of Sanilac, Michigan was informed that the Michigan Unemployment Insurance Agency, UIA, has determined the Human Development Commission, HDC, and home service providers should be classified as employees. And whereas the determination from the UIA will have a detrimental effect to senior services in Sanilac and surrounding counties. And whereas without corrective action, the determination will end the ability for HDC to provide multiple services, including chore services, homemaking, respite care, personal care. And whereas in 1993, the Michigan Employment Security Commission, UIA, provided HDC with a determination that the in-home workers were in fact independent contractors. Therefore, be it resolved that the Sanilac County Board of Commissioners firmly advocate and request the Michigan Unemployment Insurance Agency honor the Michigan Employment Security Commission determination that Human Development Commission in-home service providers are independent contractors so the community may continue to receive their much needed services. Be it further resolved that this resolution be presented to the Human Development Commission and spread upon the proceedings of the Sanilac County Board of Commissioners the 17th day of May, 2022.
We have a motion. Is there support? Support. We have a motion from Commissioner Sarkella, support from Commissioner Ballard. Is there discussion?
Yeah, would anybody who remembers what this was about like to speak on it, or shall I?
Yeah, so in our May 3rd BOC meeting during committee reports, Commissioner Sarkella notified all of us that the UIA had done an audit of the Human Development Commission's in-home services and determined that the contractors they were using for in-home services were technically employees, requiring them to follow all the rules of having employees, which is extremely expensive. So that action by the Unemployment Insurance Agency would effectively eliminate HDC's ability to provide those services, which is reducing services to constituents in the county. So I reached out to Commissioner Sarkella. We collaborated on this resolution along with Jody helped us out with it as well, so that we could advocate for HDC services. at a county level. And, I don't know what'll come of this, but at least I do believe that HDC currently has a referee involved with UIA.
Yes, and then I will be taking this resolution to the HDC board meeting tomorrow to further advocate that they present it to their respective board of commissioners in the other counties that they serve.
Yeah. So we might actually get other counties to pass similar resolutions, creating a little bit of pressure, if you will, to get UIA to back off on this.
If I remember correctly, they were looking at a $21,000 fine.
Yes.
And then the following week, I believe I heard that UIA was dropping the requirements for people to pay back the unemployment that they got during COVID.
Right.
To the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yeah, but yet they're doing this for 21,000 fine, and they did a HDC did a calculation. It would be about $500,000+ for them to have all the independent contractors as employees, and that's just not in their budget.
Chairman, paragraph 4, where it talks about 1993, the MESC way. Do we have that right?
Yes. So back in 1993, the Unemployment Insurance Agency was referred to as the Michigan Employment Security Commission.
Okay.
So the Michigan Employment Security Commission gave HDC a determination that their in-home workers were in fact independent
The
contractors.
very agency that now is saying,
Correct.
got it, okay.
So they think just because they changed their name means they don't have to honor what they did in the past. We'll hopefully find them wrong in that.
But they didn't admit fault in the 93 decision. Okay,
We might be bringing it to their attention though.
yeah. Well, good.
Very good.
I'll be sending that to them.
Bill's going to take it tomorrow.
Bill, you didn't take it?
I'm going to take it to the HDC board.
Okay, so, but it'll find its way to the
It should.
Michigan Unemployment Insurance. Okay.
Any further discussion on the topic? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Commissioner Ballard,
Yes.
Commissioner Heberly,
Yes.
Chairman Black,
Yes.
Commissioner Wyatt,
Yes.
Commissioner Sarcella.
Yes,
Resolution is carried. Okay, moving on to committee reports. We will start with Commissioner Sarcella.
sat in on MSU Extension Advisory Board meeting. They are assisting the farms with their planting season with some program assistance. And they've had some various economic projects going in the thumb. Now they're finally able to fill staff. So some people, unlike the parks, I guess, they're finding some people that want to work. And also sat in on a Sea Grant presentation, in particular in regards to joint health of the Great Lakes and the Lake Huron fishery. One of the things that Sea Grant does is they kind of gauge the fisheries and how that's doing as to the health of the lakes, and they try to keep it all together. But this meeting in particular was focused on Lake Huron, so very informational, and gleaned some good information from that. That's all I have for committee.
Thank you, Bill. Gary?
Basically, I covered it a couple weeks ago. As I said, our planning committee for the county is redoing our master plan, and Lisa has reached out to a number of people for a directional committee to help us with that, and we've had good response. And our first meeting is Thursday night, kickoff meeting, right?
Yes, Thursday night.
So we're looking forward to that. And then I'll let Joel talk about, we met with Judge Rathwell this morning on a couple of openings he has to fill in his court system. So I'll let Joel talk about that in my report.
Thank you, Gary. I myself had a Board of Health meeting this morning. We finished up the health officer, which would be Bryant Wilkie's evaluation. His evaluation was set as effective. And the board's been working on creating a proper evaluation for the medical director. Our goal is to have that evaluation created and completed in June, and then have the evaluation completed by the end of July. So I'll be able to bring a report back to the board about that. Moving on to the Arpa Committee that met this morning, we took no official action. We did review some of the applications and sent some correspondence back to particular departments that had applications to have them reach back out and look for if there's any match funds available through grants, just to make sure that we're bringing in as many dollars as we possibly can and leveraging those dollars the best that we can. That's all I have.
I got a question for you, John,
Sure.
regarding your health board report. So has there ever been any evaluations done on the medical director or the health director?
So the health officer has been evaluated by the Board of Health in years prior, but the idea of evaluating the medical director in Sanilac County is a new idea. So,
Okay.
any further questions?
Nope, that was it.
Okay, Roger?
Just the only thing I have is our parks did open on time this year. They opened the weekend of, well, Sunday was May 1st. They opened up on that Friday. Pretty good attendance at the parks. So I slow in May, it's a little cooler, but I think last week they probably did quite well. So far, so good for the parks.
Good.
So Gary and I met in the Personnel Committee today with Judge Raffle about two items. The first item was that Judge Raffle have the ability to hire a consultant to assist the new employee, Michael Haybauer, who's going to be our juvenile director, to take over that department in an efficient way. They found a consultant that was previously the juvenile director here at this facility years ago, so there's an advantage there. He convinced us it was the right thing to do. One of the difficulties they had was finding someone to be the juvenile director. There's not a whole lot of folks out there running around looking for a job as juvenile director necessarily. So I think that is a good reason to hire up to 50 hours, a consultant to assist him getting that agency into place so that he can effectively administrate it.
And the judge may not need that whole 50 hours.
Up to 50 hours, yeah. So that's
Excuse me, is it 50 or 25? It says 25.
25
It is
hours.
going to be changed to 50.
Oh.
So that I'm going to recommend that it be put 50. Initially, the way Judge Raffle explained it, most likely 25 hours will be eaten up. It's quite possible it may need to go further rather than having to postpone and come back to the board asking for an additional 25 or 10 or 5, up to 50. He assures us that, given the individual taking over, that they should have no trouble whatsoever to catch on to what's going on.
Is this new individual already here?
Here in the building? No, I don't believe so.
Yeah.
Started last Wednesday.
Did he start last month? Oh, there you are, Judge.
Oh, you did say that. I mean.
Did he say that? I don't remember.
Yeah, he did. Sorry, you did.
Sorry, I thought we were going to look at it.
Oh, you mean here in the meeting? That's what I was saying.
No,
No.
just here working in San
You
Juan
did
County.
say.
Yeah,
that-
he's been here since last Wednesday.
I'm trying to get a grasp on the timeline here.
So Gary and I, the Personnel Committee, recommend that we go ahead at the full board meeting, entertain a motion to be able to allow him to do that.
We have that listed under NFA 022-22.
And then the second one was a request to fill a bookkeeper position at front of the court. That vacancy is needed as well, but it's going to no longer be a bookkeeper. It's going to be a receptionist. The bookkeeper took the position that was vacated. So we have a classification 4 position available as a receptionist.
That was due to Connie,
Connie Brower.
Connie Brown moved in,
And the receptionist is taking her position effective May 28th. So now it's the receptionist position that will be open.
Okay.
That'll be in finance.
Okay.
And we're gonna recommend that too.
Okay.
And I'll address those at the finance.
Anything further in your committee report? Okay, thank you, everyone. We'll move on to unfinished business. Seeing none, that'll take us directly into new business. We will start with Finance Administration. FA 087-21, award and authorized bid for vehicles, Sheriff's Office.
Sanilac County Board of Commissioners hereby authorizes and awards the bid and signature Ford for 2021 Ford Police Interceptor utility AWDB assigned to the Uniform Services Division at a cost of $37,041 and 2022 Ford Police Interceptor utility all-wheel drive to be assigned to the Corrections Division at a cost of $35,706 with funding of 75% reimbursed from the approved USDA Rural Development Grant Fund and 25% from the Commissary Fund.
Support.
We have a motion from Finance Chairman Sarkella and support from Commissioner Ballard. Is there any discussion on the topic?
This was, Sheriff Rich, this was from last year, right?
Yeah, was that the one there was a question on? It took so long. So
You had to get a different
Yes.
model year.
it needed to be.
Yeah.
2022.
It was never filled last year, right?
I believe that's why it came back.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Just because. of that.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Moving on to FA 071-22, approval of 2022 current claims.
Sand Lake County Board of Commissioners hereby approves the payment of current claims for 2022 identified on the accounts payable report dated May 10th, 2022 for the general bank account in the amount of $114,241.49. Support.
We have a motion from Commissioner Sarcella, support from Commissioner Heberlin. Is there any discussion on the topic? Hearing none, all in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Moving on to FA 072-22, budget adoptions, amendments, appropriations, and transfers.
Sand Lake County Board of Commissioners hereby approves the following amendments and establishes the following accounts as listed.
We have a motion from Commissioner Sarcella. Is there support? Support from Commissioner Ballard. Is there any discussion?
Yes, so included in here is two items actually for the DTF. And we have the director and Tina here to explain some of the things about it. I think it was important because I reached out to them saying, what are we doing with that balance that carries over? It was a topic of discussion last December when we had the ballot language discussion about renewing millages. Millages are our tax that's put upon the people through a ballot measure that they approve, but it's first vetted through this Board of Commissioners. We had a good discussion with that. We've moved forward and made decisions that are in the best interest of the taxpayers. And I wanted an opportunity for Jim to be able to show that we're utilizing this money, carrying over a balance for some small measures that we are anticipating in the next budget year. But that the objective of millage money is to spend the millage money on the things that the millage is for. That's part of that success of that millage, not to bankroll, savings account or investments accounts for future days, but rather to take that tax dollars that the people have voted to expend and put it towards the purpose of the millage so that there's some real effect and change happening. And that was one of the lively discussions I think we had last December and with the subsequent reports for millage renewals. So Jim, if you'd like to explain what you're doing. He did do so previously, right at your.
Yes, several times.
Yeah. One more time.
I'm going to hand these out. It's just our budget for 2022 and the monies that are left in there now, and it explains that out. And I'll go over each one. And I'm happy to do this because Commissioner White had pointed out, if someone had asked the question, what are we doing with that money? We'll have that answer for that. It's appropriate to give the pending.
Sign back on it.
Absolutely.
Back in Stone Age.
I've been over at the drug board as director this is my 9th year. One of the things that, even with the previous administration over at the sheriff's office and the current one, was trying to establish a canine unit for the drug unit. I've pushed that, I think, every budget year. The fact that I'm over there retired from the sheriff's office, I still have to budget every year for the retirement benefits and the health insurance for myself in case I was to leave, so the money's in place or paid for that. So that's been a savings over the last 9 years. Part of the money, if you look at the ledger balance, it shows $1,323,000, of which the budget for this year with the additional 5th person, which is the canine and the officer that's handling the canine, we transferred over $115,000. That's the cost for that officer, the canine, the vehicle. I think I broke it down on the front page. Vehicle insurance, fuel, and maintenance on that, and the expenses of having to, whether that's medical. And that's rounded, so that's pretty close. And I think we're going to see at the end of the year, it's going to be pretty accurate. So with that $115,000, I took that out of there. The money that we get in from the revenue from the millage fund, which is projected to be $847,689, would be enough to still put that officer on top of that. There wouldn't be the money there to pay out the salaries. I think, like everything else, 75% of what we do is salaries and benefits out of that money. So what I've been able to do is set aside enough money
There was some grants there for like $80,000 over a period of 3 years from medical marijuana that we bought equipment that we didn't spend the millage money on. There was money from the savings from not having to pay my position benefits. There was some kickback money we got. Treasurer would probably know that better than me. We got like $43,000 back last year. There was some COVID funds that was never projected as a revenue or an income for us, but it came across. So the money that we started out with before the 22 budget was established and approved by both the drug board and the board of commissioners was around 550.
The balance from
Yeah.
last year, 552, I think.
$1,000. So what that allowed us to do as a drug board and on the board of commissioners approving it was to establish that K-9 unit, maintaining the staff that we had and adding that one. That would probably get us through 3, possibly 4 years. Now, I know the auditors in previous years had had us recommended a contingency balance of at least 15%, because with the millage money, for those that may not know that, we incur all the costs. We incur the cost of the retirement benefits. There are 2 positions from our department where there's retirements that we're paying their health insurance costs. So there's $200,000 that's been set aside to pay for those benefits that don't come out of the general fund. It comes strictly out of our millage. And what I've tried to do in order to maintain that there, I hope for a good, long, lengthy life for both those people that retired, is out of the general budget that I make up out of the millage money, I continue to pay that benefit for their healthcare insurance. So I'm not touching, I think it's $196,000, because at some point insurance costs have gone up. And if I consume that $196,000, it wouldn't take very long to use that up. So I'm trying to leave that there and then pay each year's budget for their health insurance benefits that they still maintain out of that $856,000. Am I trying to make them?
You've got some legacy costs down the line with insurance and retirements.
Yes, we incur everything, and I don't have the ability, if we were to run over our budget line, to dip back and ask the general fund to pay. It doesn't work that way. So unless I have some contingency monies, if there's unknown costs that come up, whether the health insurance goes up or whether the Mr. White, you're the best at that. The cost allocation charges that we get, those have gone up. Those have gone up from $13,000 average year to around 40 now. And I see no reason why they probably wouldn't continue to go up. So I have to incorporate all those costs into the millage funds. So my best hope is to have at least 3 years, additional years of having that 5th officer with a K-9. And during that point in time, and I think one of the conversations I had with the Board of Commissioners and I brought up with the drug board is there's 5 different ways to carry on trying to effectively do our job at the drug unit. And one was either eliminating my position at some point when I choose to leave, wish to leave, or mass leave, and let the sheriff's office maybe take control over that again. Second one was to delete we do a health department, we have counseling services we provide in the schools. Between that and its team now, but it used to be the DARE program, amounts to short of $100,000, is to eliminate that as an option. Another one is to eliminate one of the officers that are out there and maintain the K-9 unit. That's difficult because a K-9 has 1 day a week training. And with court, we were actually shorthanded before. So we've done some of our best work here in the last year with the dog and with the additional person, just between court cases, vacations, and training for all of those positions. And I think the sheriff, you would agree that that's probably been one of the best things we've done for the drug unit. Responsible things we've done in a long, long time.
Let's see for the second dog.
He can cover the second dog. So on paper, it looks like we got $400-some thousand left over, but money's already spent. If you continue to endorse that program, I would hope that we would.
You mentioned legacy, well, actually Chairman Locke said legacy costs, and we talk about the retiree health premium. Is that a legacy cost? That premium will be paid going forward?
Yes, one of the suggestions that I made several years ago when Dan Dean was chairman of the board was transfer that money over into the general fund that it makes that payment now to the other retirees from the county that get health care. And that if the millage was to go down or curtailed or for whatever reasons, that the county would pick that up. I don't know how you could promise somebody a benefit in writing and then say because the millage isn't there, you're not going to provide that benefit.
That's was going to be my next question. When the millage goes away, there's no way to fund that currently.
That's why I've continually tried to do the proper thing and at least not target that money that I've set aside.
Is that a benefit that was accrued as an employee of the drug task force or as the sheriff's office retiree?
As the drug task force, as a county employee. Didn't have to be at the sheriff's department at the time those two people were employed to get that benefit.
So this particular retiree health premium is for two individuals. And
Yes,
the expectation is after you retire, it'll be retiree health premium that'll be paid until you're done
Yes.
using it.
And only one of those positions gets the full-time health benefit. As a retiree, the other gets the buyout. So it's costing me about $20,000 a year out of the budget to pay for those two positions. And there is no one else that would be leaving the drug unit that would obtain that. There's no more legacy costs in that particular area.
Yeah, what shut that off? In terms of no one else getting that?
Board of Commissioners.
Was this?
It was a voted on benefit. It didn't only affect there, it affected all the rest.
Okay, so this was treated as a county employee back then as well, when
Yes.
everyone got retiree health.
He was appointed official. Both of them were.
I guess I'm confused because you retired from the sheriff's office at the time where you had retiree health care.
Yes, and I retain that today.
So you have two retiree health care plans.
It's not.
This is the same one?
No, no.
Mine has no tie into the drug task force.
Oh, when I read this with the name of Jim and Tina here, I
No,
assume.
no, those
that-
are, those
that-
are.
What those costs there are what the auditors have made us set aside.
Yeah,
If Tina and I were to leave today, and they had to pay some for vacation.
I thought that was part of the retiree health care one which you were
No,
speaking of.
that's-
Okay,
That's an additional.
got it.
So in theory, if we both use up our time, I don't get paid sick time when I leave. That would be money set aside, and hopefully by then we'll have some of that used up.
Understood. Thank you.
Any further questions for Jim?
So I'm not lying about my numbers, I just may be mistaken, as the gentleman.
Well, I don't doubt, but it's better to understand what it is that these dollars are going for.
No, and I don't hear anything back from the drug board. I mean, I take my instructions from them and you approve what they would like me to do. That's a bad system that I've got set in place. And anytime that an auditor needs to go through our books, clearly I welcome that. We're in one line of work where people handling money and dealing with drugs always has those questionable things.
Thank you.
Okay.
Jim, I've served on your committee or board. You do a fine job.
Thank you for being here.
Yep.
Okay, we have a motion and support for FA 072-22. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion is carried. Moving on, FA 073-22, approval of additional general fund bank account checks charged to April 2022.
Sanilac County Board of Commissioners hereby approves the payment of additional general fund bank account checks charged to April 2022 as follows. $253,839.45 in payments, $255,238.43 in checks, $509,077.88 is the total.
We have a motion from Commissioner Sarcella, support from Commissioner Heberlin. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion is carried. Moving on to FA 074-22, authorization to dispose of vehicle motor pool.
Sanilac County Board of Commissioners hereby authorizes motor pool to dispose of a 2006 Chevy Malibu VIN number ending in 16792 with 150,485 miles at Albright Auction House, Vassar, Michigan, with proceeds of the sale to the vehicle to be deposited into the motor pool fund.
Support.
We have a motion from Commissioner Sarcella, support from Commissioner Ballard. Is there any discussion?
Yes, Chairman. I thought we had another vehicle in the stable that needed to be disposed of.
That was from Nick.
Yeah, this one was from Dick. Todd, how's that truck coming? What's going on with it? We're not, okay. All set.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Moving on to FA 075-22, approval of inmate medical services contract.
Sanilac Lake County Board of Commissioners hereby approves the inmate medical services contract between Sanilac Lake County and McKenzie Health System for the term of July 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2026, and further authorizes the board chairman sign the necessary documents.
Support.
We have a motion from Commissioner Sarcella, support from Commissioner Ballard. Is there discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signal.
Chairman, hold on one second. Does our policy require 3-year contracts or 5 years? I remember discussing this with Tara previously.
I think it's 3 to 5 years.
Between 3 to 5, because there was,
This is 4. with
This
an
is 4,
option to
yeah.
Extend for a year.
is that what it is? Is it 3 with an option to extend or 4 with an option to extend?
Well,
4 with an option to extend?
Which would put us at the 5-year limit, would what my understanding was.
Our policy reads 5 years. I recall, I recall talking with Tara about our policy in regards to contract lengths, and I remember us discussing about our auditing firm, Yo and Yo, and that we were coming up on, was it 5 years? No, 3 years. And that was what the policy says. We'll go ahead with this, but maybe that's something we should look at addressing. Do we want to have contracts that extend more than 3 years? 5 years sounds good.
Sounds like a question for the personnel or the policy committee.
Yeah, we'll give you a recommendation.
Sounds like a plan. Any further discussion on FA 075-22? Hearing none. All those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Moving on to NFA 019-22, appointment of position and approval of employment agreement.
Sanilac Lake County Board of Commissioners hereby appoints Nathan Roski to the position of County Administrator / Controller and approves the following employment agreement and further authorizes the board chairman to sign.
Support.
We have a motion from Finance Chairman Sarcella, support from Commissioner Ballard. Is there discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Congratulations, Mr. Roski. We're excited to have you here with us. We'll look forward to seeing you on the 31st.
Thank you.
you don't have to jump out the window now.
I'd like to thank Commissioner Eberling for working with me, sitting down and getting a contract negotiated with Nathan. I thought it went very smooth and I think we had it done within a day or two. So, job well done. Thank
And
you.
if I might add, both of you and Nathan are very professional people to work with.
Oh, thank you. Must be that Deckerville upbringing, right, Nathan?
Oh, I forgot about
Please.
Now we will move on to NFA 020-22, approval of 2021-2022 agreement for contractual law enforcement services, Sheriff's Office.
Sanilac Lake County Board of Commissioners hereby approves the 2021-2022 agreement for contractual law enforcement services for Lexington Township and further authorizes the board chairman sign the necessary agreement.
We have a motion from Finance Chairman Sarcella, support from Commissioner Heberlein. Is there discussion? Sheriff Rich, these are contracts from villages and municipalities rather than hiring their own police force to contract with your department to provide services. Is that what this is?
Correct, more specific. Also, with the contract, will allow us to work on some phone issues that may be over and above that they would like to proceed with.
Are you seeing an increase in these kinds of services being desired from municipalities?
I think we have Delaware. Elk, I think it's still a valid contract. Now we have Lexington, and we have the Port Sanilac Village contract also.
Do you feel,
We have 4 right now.
do you feel like that's a service that you'd provide to more municipalities as long as you had the manpower to provide the service?
Manpower is the big key, but yes,
These are the same four we had a couple years ago.
this is an additional one.
This is one, yeah. And just so everybody's clear here, if there's overtime, they pay the overtime too, right?
The contract is written at an overtime. All of the benefits and mileage is all figured into the contract.
Thank you, Sheriff. Any further discussion on the topic? Hearing none, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion is carried. Moving on to NFA 021-22, authorization to reclassify position in the 24th Circuit Court Family Division.
Sanilac County Board of Commissioners hereby authorizes reclassification of juvenile court probation officer / deputy juvenile director from a pay grade 9, step 3 to a pay grade 10, step 3, and further approved job description as follows. Support.
We have a motion from Commissioner Sarkella, support from Commissioner Heberling. Tim, if you want to go ahead and just run us through this quick.
Absolutely. So I was here probably a month or two ago to tell you about a project that I was working on, and actually I was working on it with Mr. Roski, so I owe him a thank you for sure, and so does the county. Where 4 positions we found that were not allocated to the child care fund, we thought were eligible and could be. One of them needed to be changed to be eligible, which is the position in front of you today. It was only eligible for reimbursement if we amended it to make it into a supervisory role over the intensive probation officers. And the savings to our county is greater than the cost of the reclassification. So what I just gave you with the highlight is showing that the state of Michigan approved it. They approved it on May 11th. This will save our county about $65,000 a year in reimbursements of wages and benefits, and it will increase as wages and benefits increase. So next year it will be probably $65,000 to $68,000 in control from there. So the reclassification person, Mr. Notley, had recommended last year that this position is changed to a 10 if we create the position. That position was created because it had to be to allow for this reimbursement. And I believe specific to this position alone, the reimbursement was maybe $800 or $900 a year more than the reclassification cost. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
This is something we've worked pretty closely on, and we've been working on this for about a month and a half.
We have, so I had to come in front of you to get the amendment approved to the child care fund. Chairman Block had to sign a form called the 2091. I took that down to the DHHS office, got that signed by the director, and then I had to sign it, and then the state ended up approving. But I will indicate Mr. Roski and Mr. McMillan were also instrumental in that. And without their help, the savings for our county would not occur.
Mr. McMillan, he's the mayor of Croswell, correct?
He's the mayor of Croswell.
Yeah, well, another elected official doing a good work for the constituents in the county. Thank
He
you.
is. And you just took his best employee and saying,
Sucks to be Mike.
Yeah. Look at us go.
You weren't even here and you're already saving us money. Well done, Nate.
Okay, is there any further discussion related?
Judge, I just want to say thank you for bringing this to our attention. You got elected as judge here and you've just been running gangbusters on helping our job be more efficient, and we appreciate it.
oh, you're very welcome. I appreciate it. And I'll tell you the one piece of advice I've gotten, and I've even shared this with Mr. Roski, was from Chairman Block, who said, you know, Tim, we generally love your ideas. They save us money, but slow down because they're a bit overwhelming. So I'm trying to slow down a little bit. There are still several in the works, a few of them today, and then I'll hit you with another one in a month or so. But I appreciate the advice and I appreciate what you said. So thank you.
We appreciate your hard work. Any further discussion related to NFA 021-22? Hearing none, all in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you, Tim. Appreciate you being here to answer questions. This moves us on to NFA 022-22, authorization to decline tax foreclosed properties, Treasurer's Office.
Sanilac County Board of Commissioners hereby declines the right to purchase any tax foreclosed properties for public use.
Good afternoon. Every year, the county gets the first right of refusal on all foreclosed properties. This year, I foreclosed 15 properties on April 1st. There are 7 vacant parcels, 3 abandoned homes, 4 homes with tenants and 1 storefront in Ground City. Now, due to my staffing issues this year, I outsourced my auction. This title check company that I hired to do my foreclosure process is mostly due to the fact that I've lost my half FTE to the drain commissioner this year. We used to share Angela Kramer, but he was denied getting extra help and he just absorbed her position into his office. And so I lost a half position in mine. So, and due to the changes in the laws and all the legal things that have to be done, I hired this title check company to do my foreclosure stuff. So now it'll all be an online auction. There's directions to go on their website, the tax info, the sales will all be online. The auction is August 11th, but I didn't really see anything that the county could use because the vacant parcels, there's, like I said, 7 of them. I think 4 of them are in Worth Township on undeveloped roads up there. We didn't have anything. We've always, when Kathy Dorman was here, we always kind of watched for something that we could turn into an animal control shelter. You know, if we had something in the vicinity that had some yard, some property, a barn, something, you know, but we never found that. And this number, this 15 is probably lower than, since I've been in office these last 10 years, this is the lowest number of foreclosures I've had.
Really?
And I do have programs. There are programs available through the state, and I have programs inside my office where I can extend, you know, if they have financial hardship, and that has been rampant lately with COVID and the way things have gone in the job market and everything else. So the county does have to or need to refuse the parcels for their own public purpose, and you get first choice of the parcels, but otherwise they'll all go to auction. It's just formality.
So how does that process work if the county decides, oh, we'd like that parcel?
Then the treasurer would deed it over to the county. You'd have to prove a public purpose.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I searching to see what these parcels look like or the buildings look like, because we just got done talking earlier today about, you know, parcels for the use of various public projects.
Yes.
How do we see these?
They'll eventually be on that website. I have pictures and maps in my office, but only just a copy to put on the counter for people who might be interested, but it'll all be online now, and we don't do those booklets that we spent all that time doing with the maps and the pictures, because it'll all be theirs to do.
Well, I mean, so right now, if we were to have the right to refusal and we went ahead with that, there would be no recourse other than for the county to participate in the auction, and if they decided they wanted that. My point is, like, has anyone here looked at those parcels or identified them and seen whether they could be utilized or not? Because I haven't been able to do that. When we got the email, I went on the website, haven't
Right.
seen it. I just went on just now.
Mhm.
Can't really notice. How long do we have for this right of refusal?
If you want to wait, I don't know if there's a timeline on it. As long as the county chooses before the auction, you know, it doesn't have to be done today, I guess, if you want to wait.
Yeah, could you please provide for us a description of the properties so that we can actually review them and maybe make a informative decision at our next meeting?
The majority of them are in Worth Township, right?
The majority of the vacant parcels
Vacant,
are
yeah.
in. I have 3 houses in Peck. There's a house in Deckerville. There's a house in Worth Township. there's a house in Snover. I mean, if the county was wanting a house and wanted to evict the tenants, I guess that would be up to the county to do. Because I don't evict, I let people stay in them and sell them as is. So I guess that would be up to.
I don't
you, but-
see any properties there we want to put a dog bone down.
No. And I don't get any farmland.
I don't see the harm in referring this to the first Tuesday of June meeting so that you have an opportunity to review it. I do have a question for you, Trudy.
Yes,
There's been a recent change in the law related
Yes.
to foreclosing on properties. At one point, the county would take all of the proceeds
right.
and keep those,
Mhm.
but there's been a lawsuit.
Yes,
And so now the county's able to keep the costs that we've incurred by selling the property, but any extra proceeds have to be handed over to whoever it was foreclosed on, correct?
Yeah.
if that interested party files a claim with the treasurer, they have to file a claim to me between April 1st and July 1st. So that deadline we're closing in on, we're about halfway through that. I have received 3 such claims from associations in Worth Township that didn't get their dues. So they have filed a claim. So letters go out to all the owners, any interested parties. There's even state liens on some of these. And so the state can file a claim with the treasurer's office and claim the excess proceeds of the sale.
I guess the question I'm driving at is that if the Board of Commissioners had a piece of property they were interested in, it does not go to sale. So how would that be facilitated?
That wouldn't, it wouldn't matter. That wouldn't apply.
Just wouldn't apply.
No. Because there would be no sale.
Right.
So there's no proceeds. So,
So would that person have some, so the sheer fact that the commissioners would want that piece of property could then deny the person foreclosed on of getting any value back out of it?
probably, yes, because of the first right of refusal.
Okay.
That's the law.
That's a. and
Well,
very-
so was the law to get the proceeds and you see where that put us, right?
Yeah,
So
till it changes,
knows?
right? Till it changes.
Yeah.
So far. So, yes, and how about, I have that counter booklet upstairs with pictures and maps. And how about if I email that to each one of you so you can view it for the next meeting and you can look at it? Rather than come up to the office and look through pages and pages, I can just scan the whole thing in and email it to you. Would that be something that
works.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
Would that be good?
yes,
All right.
because I know in the past, the county has taken advantage of this and actually bought property for the use of various, what do you want to call them? I think the Save Millage utilizes one, right?
I don't,
What's the
it
name?
might have been before my time.
Yeah, what's the name of that women's shelter?
Nevis Place.
Yes, that-
Was that a foreclosed?
That was a foreclosed property, right? No, that wasn't? Oh, okay, my apologies.
It wasn't tax foreclosure. No.
Okay.
That was county owned property.
How did that become because I thought it was a residential.
And there was at one time a juvenile home,
Uh-huh,
a state owned juvenile home, but it was county owned property.
okay, so
in the
we
70s.
somehow got it from the state?
There should be deeds somewhere.
Okay,
Yeah. That wasn't a foreclosed property.
okay. I had actually heard that that's exactly what it was. It was a foreclosed property, so.
I think maybe the gun range might have been a foreclosed property. No, that was purchased too.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. And then the townships are offered these same, you get first right.
Yeah.
And then we send letters to townships and they have a right to purchase them at the minimum bid.
No.
Thank you, Trudy. Leslie, who made the motion?
Well, that was just Sir Phillips.
Okay. Bill, I need a friendly amendment to your motion to refer this to the next following BOC meeting.
What an unfriendly one.
Oh,
Can you do that? No, friendly's fine.
Okay.
June 7th.
So we have a friendly amendment to refer this to the June 7th meeting. Gary, can you support that?
Yeah.
Okay, we have a motion of support to refer this. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion is carried. That concludes new business. At this time, we'll move on to general public comments. Do we have any general public comments? Anybody like to speak to the board?
Back row there, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. If I'm recognizing you as Mrs. Brandenburg,
Yes.
okay.
you are.
How are you?
The floor is yours.
I'll talk to everybody. I'm Donna Brandenburg and I'm running to be the next governor of the state of Michigan.
Okay.
And I'm really pleased to be here. I'm traveling all along the state and trying to meet people because our state is such a mess and wrecked right now that it's time for all of us, I think, to put our heads together and take it back. So I'm going to introduce myself just a little bit, give you a little bit of my background, and I like all kinds of questions. So if anybody wants to ask them, I don't know what's appropriate here in this meeting, but I'm not a politician. I'm a business owner. I'm one of the only female pipeline company owners in the United States of America. And what that means is that we install pipeline, we connect the oil fields and the shale fields, and we take product from the wells. It's a transmission lines that we do. Most of what we do is anomaly work, repair and replace, take up and relay and that sort of thing. And we also do compressor stations that in pretty much anything to do with gas and oil. We do that kind of construction. Don't own the pipe, don't own the product. So we also own a short line railroad, a very pretty good sized one. Our building is 2,000 feet long by 575 feet wide. We service all the major fleets in the United States of America. I'm the founder of Grief and Loss Today Advances in Hospice, Advances in Bereavement. We have a little tech company. I own 130 addresses in Grand Rapids, and I used to do all my own construction. So I was like the HGTV chick before it was HGTV. We own a farm ag drain tile business where we put in the large agricultural drain tile systems all over the Midwest. And we also own Buckeye trenchers. When we were down on the wall with one of our companies, though we own the company that we actually own Buckeye trenchers. And we were on the wall working for President Trump for border security on the wall. So I'm here to tell you right now that I stepped up. I have the endorsement of General Flynn. I decided to step up because I felt that the state and the nation needs a little bit more executive management skill to get things done in a better way. And talk about a lot of subjects. They can talk about anything it is that can be helpful to facilitate business. I do think that we need to get the state working again rather than the way that we are right now, because none of us that own businesses can actually hire people. And you know, I've talked about half the sheriffs in the state actually, and it was interesting to have this come up for me because I have talked to, you know, probably about half of the sheriffs. My main reason is because I like state sovereignty. And I think that there's an awful lot of federal overreach in the state, and the sheriffs are the ones that can actually do things like arrest governors that have overstepped their constitutional rights and to make orders on the people. So I really like that. Anyhow, I think that when you go through the sheriffs and how the funding is for the sheriffs in the state, because I knock things apart, I like to look at the money and see where it's going. The state is one great big money laundering organization when you look at it and where the money's going. The sheriff's department, quite a few of them are running in the state with maybe like 6 to 8 deputies, and for the entire counties. And the farther north you get, the worse it gets. So the drug task force up in especially the UP, they don't really have good response there. And also the funding is going to the state police a lot of times before it goes to the sheriffs, especially for grants and such. So I do believe that right now, the way that the state is organized, it's ruining community policing. And so I do believe that we need to put more money into the sheriffs and to the local drug task forces and such, and in order to rebuild the communities. But I'm happy to answer any questions when it comes to economics, schools. I've talked to quite a few people in the school systems and teachers and MBA and that sort of thing to try to knock this thing apart and actually bring the money back into the communities rather than where it's going right now. It's very easy to find out that there's been a lot of money siphoned off into some of the high level politicians' pockets and into special interest. I'm a bit of a researcher. I do a lot of writing. I found a $177 million fund that they found as an overage last year. And our wonderful people up in Lansing decided to call it the Christmas Tree Fund. And they put it into pet projects in their districts rather than to benefit the state. So it looks to me like buying votes. when you knock it apart. And it's a systemic problem with corruption. So that's my number one issue. And, but I'm pretty good at knocking apart things and going to core issues. And I'm really glad to be here. I really, I think it's a wonderful community. I was able to stop at several of the businesses today and hear exactly what's going on here and some of the frustrations and some of the successes, and it's been really wonderful. So there you go. I'd like to give you guys cards, and I write every single word on Telegram. I've done a lot of writing over the years.
Line 5, you'll support.
What's that?
Line 5, you'll support.
Line 5, I can talk about that, working in energy. It's been a politicized issue. That's absolutely one of the stupidest things that I've ever seen managed the way it is. I sat up with one of the politicians that tried to tell me, I said, anybody that hits that line 5 with an anchor, which happened, should be arrested for domestic terrorism because it's infrastructure. And they made excuses for knowing the person that hit the pipe, which is protecting their friend. They said that they dropped anchor and dragged an anchor 200 miles. Not even remotely possible. I fly, and anybody that's captaining anything knows where all the barriers are, so it's crap. And then they went through 80,000 wooden shipwrecks, which is a nationally protected area, to hit the pipe and such. So Enbridge offered, we've worked with Enbridge in the past. It's a good company. We don't do much work with them, but we have. And not looking for work. I'm pretty well raising horses and rescuing horses and that sort of thing and running companies, but I don't really want anything else out of life right now. But they had offered to put that pipe underneath the rock so that it wasn't even out in the water. But my question is that pipe brings 55% of the product into this state. If we shut that off, as bad as energy costs are right now, it's going to exponentially go up, and there's no reason. Enbridge offered to put it in, pay the bill, and be done with it. But they've done it just like with the Flint water and the Benton Harbor water. Nobody wants to fix anything in the state. It's just all an excuse for failure. And so we have 12 lines under the water over by Sarnia. So why are we not, why are they not talking about that? And why is it that pipe?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's absolutely to hold the state hostage in their little rampage of economic destruction and warfare that they've waged against the state. And very easy to follow when you follow the money. So, yeah, so I do support it. And I got to talk to some of the sugar producers over here and the farmers on the side, one of the farmers on the side of the state. And I find that the economics of this area, being that we're in ag, we do agricultural drain tile systems and such, you get to know the industry, farming industry pretty well. We do have some cattle and soybeans and corn and that sort of thing. So the agricultural, this area appears to be kind of an agricultural powerhouse for dry beans, for sugar, for beets, that sort of thing. And it looks like it's a very inspiring industry over here and how they've gotten together with co-ops and such. So really interesting.
Very good. Any questions for Donna?
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Donna, you mentioned state sovereignty and you believe in state sovereignty, and then you followed that with saying something to the effect of that we have many state governors who overstepped their power and who were guilty of not following our
They're
civil
guilty of
rights.
treason.
So
And I'll just come right out and say it. They're absolute guilty of treason.
how do you feel about, let's say, county sovereignty or sovereignty at a layer lower than state?
Let me tell you that I believe in the doctrine of the lesser magistrate, which is that the people that are closest in government to the people are the ones, everything's backwards. Everything that we're running in government as a business owner, you can look at it too, it's a completely and utterly train wreck and backwards. The people highest at the top should be there to serve everyone underneath them and facilitate that control closer to home. Decentralize, have the areas run themselves the way that they want to. Best answer I ever got out of one of the sheriffs when I introduced or when I talked to him is I said, so what could a constitutional conservative governor do to help you? He said, not a thing. I'm like, that's perfect. I said, well, we probably can help with funding and such, but I think that to get out of the way and support local control, local decisions based, the school systems, everything should really be run closest to the people who are in the area.
Well, you're familiar with the debacle we had a couple of years ago that ended up at the Supreme Court, stripping the governor of her claim of empirical power, right? And she lost on that and immediately implemented the emergency orders from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services director. And that was interesting because those were correctly applied in the way the statute reads and were unending without any, measure of oversight. And currently there's been a petition being put out there regarding limiting that power to a term more like what the governor actually has of 45 days or 28 days, but such a time that you can, put out the fire and then ask for assistance and how to rebuild and go forward. How do you feel about that?
I feel like every single thing that not only was like the lockdown done and the basis that they did, all of them was absolutely an egregious assault against our Constitution. And I think could have been done differently and better. None of it made any sense to me, our common sense rules. So I think limited power of government is essential because you give, how come there's a two-tier government going on? They're not subject to the same rules we are, and they just kind of make things up as they go. And so to have very, very limited power, I believe is important, and to be able to step in with giving the power back to the people locally to make their own decisions rather than to overstep them is important.
Thank you.
Yeah, so is that, did I answer your question?
Yes.
So, yeah, so I do think that decentralization, I think we're upside down right now. I watched the corruption, they've already started rigging the corruption or rigging the 2022 election. And that's very disturbing. We had with our precinct delegates across the state, we had coercion, threat, and intimidation by not only candidates, but other political people that came, and I've got the proof. I've got about 60,000 documents.
Don't believe your lying eyes.
Yeah, they actually went up to people that were supposed to be voting. They called and they threatened and they intimidated them and gave them a piece of paper and said, there was an 82-year-old woman that was crying because they came up to her, gave her paper and said, you either vote with us or you'll never vote again. And it's wrong. I believe that it's wrong for candidates to go and market to precinct delegates or anyone that's part of the election process. It's election interference because they should be representing their constituents rather than special interests, whether it's by a political name or anything. But I make a lot of horse videos and I train horses, and so that's kind of fun to watch too. If anybody wants to see just what we do with taking care of those kind of animals and such. And so, but thank you for having me here today.
Yep.
And it's fun to watch the process and more dogs.
More dogs, right.
Thank you, Donna.
Thank you.
Is there any further public comment? Hearing none, we'll move on. We have no closed session, so there's no approval of closed session minutes. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn today's.
Motion to adjourn.
We have a motion from Commissioner Heberlin, support from Commissioner Ballard. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.